Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Regarding Islamic worship rituals, the misconception I'd like to bring into discussion today relates to making vows of worship. In this regard, we know that we have experienced a lot of vows which we find in history. We find people making vows of worship. For example, they would impose this condition while praying to the Almighty that if He fulfills such and such desire of theirs, then they shall, as a means of thanksgiving, as an act of thanksgiving, they would, for example, spend such a lot of money on the poor, or they will fast a particular number of fasts, or they'll pray a particular number of rakats of nafil prayer. So people generally tend to make this thanksgiving, the nature of this thanksgiving, conditional to the desire if it is fulfilled by the Almighty. It needs to be understood that although this custom existed also in the time of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and it has ever since continued, although it has diminished in its import, yet it still exists. However, we find the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he never undertook such vows of worship, nor did he encourage other people to do so. And we also find that none of his companions did so. Instead, when he saw some people making these vows of worship, he actually discouraged them and he actually forbade them, because of course this is something which makes the whole act of worship to be a mechanical act of worship. If you want to thank the Almighty, then the best way to thank the Almighty when one's desire gets fulfilled is that whatever our feelings of thanksgiving lead us to at that particular time when a certain wish of ours is fulfilled, then we should do that particular thing. For example, if our desire is fulfilled and at that particular instant we feel that we would like to fast for a couple of days, or we would like to spend a particular amount of money, it should be spontaneous at that time. It should not be made preconditional to the achievement of that target. It should be something which naturally flows out of us as a natural expression of our emotions of gratitude to the Almighty. Thus, for example, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is reported to have said in negation of making these vows, and this is found in Bukhari and is reported by Abdullah ibn Umar anhu from the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and the words are La tunziru fa inna nazra la yughni min al-qadri shay'a, which means that do not make these vows, because these vows will not make the fate change. It will not change the fate. In other words, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, of course, is trying to advise people and trying to convince them that this is something which is very unbecoming and not an appropriate form of worship. So as far as these vows are concerned, then this much should remain clear. However, it also needs to be understood that if a person makes such a vow, then, of course, if he breaks that vow, then it will be equivalent to breaking an oath. So the atonement of breaking an oath will have to be applied in that case. Also, one must be very sure about this. One must be pretty clear about it that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has also forbidden that we make vows which actually entail disobedience of the Almighty, or even vows which of course make us undergo certain routines which are very exacting for us, which is absolutely impossible for us to do so. Thus, for example, in the times of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, we find that an old man had resolved to go to Hajj while on foot, because he thought that if his certain wish would be fulfilled, he would do this. So when the Prophet came to know about it, and he saw that a person was walking by actually taking the help of his two sons, and while resting on his shoulders, he was walking towards the Baytullah. The Prophet said that this is not the correct way. He should go to the Baytullah while on a conveyance, on a camel or on a horse. But doing this in this manner, by putting his own self in such a difficult scenario, is not at all called for. So we need to understand that vows, in the first place, they are not encouraged. However, if a person does make this vow, then this should not entail any disobedience of the Almighty, nor should it be something which puts that person into a very exacting situation. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات.